What's going on, guys? Jacob here with Wilshire Gun, bringing you a training tip. So as red dots become more and more prevalent in the EDC and pistol game, we get a lot of questions on basically people bringing up pistols saying, hey, I'm having trouble finding the red dot, on my presentation, I'm spending a lot of time searching for the dot. And when dots became a little bit more available, there was kind of a saying that it's a 1,000-round learning curve. Well, I'm here, I'm going to show you a couple of tips and tricks, hopefully diagnose some problems that you may be having to help cut that learning curve down a little bit further. So let's take a look. We got our pistol here. How they basically work. So most people coming from a traditional iron sight shooting are a little bit more used to shooting basically off a set of iron sights where they're going to line up those iron sights. They're going to look through the rear, focus on the front. Shooting a red dot is a little bit different. It's backwards. It's counterintuitive to what you've been taught. So instead of front sight focused, we're now transitioning our focus onto the target, meaning our eyes are going to be focused on the target. We intersect the pistol with our line of sight, and the dot just appears to be floating in space. So as we are presenting that out, basically we present out and the dot is just there, right? So trick one to finding that perfect line to help you establish and find the dot more easily and so on. So as we look at the rear of these pistols, they all have some sort of backplate on them. Glock SIGs, very prevalent backplates. And the way I always tell people to find these dots is basically your body instinctively knows how to point, so you're going to establish your grip onto the pistol. You're going to present the pistol out, and with this backplate, you're going to attempt to cover the tip of your nose with it, basically just right there in your eye line. Now this will vary from pistol to pistol and dot to dot because they do vary a little bit, but this will get you a good starting point to find that perfect line so your dot starts appearing. So you present that gun out, cover the backplate on there to the tip of your nose, and that dot should be in the glass and clear. Okay, so now you're saying, Jake, but I can find the dot pretty easily, I'm pointing the pistol, but on my presentation, as I'm coming out of the holster, or I'm at the range and I'm coming up, I'm unable to find the dot as easily. I'm finding myself, coming up and doing this right here, and I'm searching, and then I finally find it, but I'm wasting a bunch of time looking for the dot out of that. And there's a myriad of reasons that can be, but I'm going to give you a couple of the most common ones. We'll go basically with concealed carry, as well as strong side hip carry, two of the most prevalent ones that I see a lot. And we'll talk about some of the diagnosis and solutions for those. So first, basically we're going to come out of the strong side. So if we're holstered up here on the hip, we're drawing out and presenting, and we're not able to quite find the dot. So a lot of shooting a dot comes from not moving your head. You want to keep your head completely still during your draw and presentation, because your eye line needs to stay in line with the target. That way you know where to consistently bring the pistol to find that dot. So how many of you guys have been at the range, or you yourself experienced this right here? We're coming from the holster, and as we're presenting, we sort of go into this fight stance, right? We're coming forward, we're leaning out and away, we're getting ready for recoil and all of this. And so in our instinctive draw, we're bang, and we're down here now. So what just happened is I've now moved my eye line, I've crunched down, and I'm bringing my gun towards my eyes and my eyes towards my gun. And a lot of times you'll get basically an overpass between the two. So as we're coming out, boom, and then now we're searching, right? And so your biggest solution to this is basically make sure you're standing tall as you draw, present, bring that gun to your eye line, and find the dot, right? Nice and simple. Just keep the head up, stop leaning over. If you're shooting with a buddy, an easy way to do that is basically say, hey man, can you put your hand on my back? They'll put their hand on your back. You feel the pressure of their hand, and your job is to just keep the pressure the same. So their hand's on your back, you're not moving, you're bringing the pistol up, and boom, dot, right? So the next one I have is actually for you appendix guys. I know a lot of people that's becoming more and more popular, appendix carrying, and it's basically the opposite of the first. Instead of leaning forward, we're finding ourselves leaning back. And a lot of times this is to clear your garment, make room for your hand to establish that grip. We lean back, and then we come back in and present. Well, you're basically doing the same, you essentially have the same issue as the guys that are leaning forward, except you're leaning backwards. And so as you know, they're coming out of the holster, we're clearing that guard, we're leaning back, making hand, getting purchase on our weapon, coming up, and then we're having to lean back in, which presents you back to that same position. Either you're taking your head down to the optic, or on that rebound, you're coming back down to the optic. And again, your optic's moving, your eyes are moving, you're gonna have a harder time intersecting those two, as opposed to standing tall, draw, boom, dot. Okay? So that can be treated basically in the same way. If you're shooting with a buddy, hey man, can you put a hand on my back? And your only goal during that draw stroke is to not increase or decrease the pressure on your back by leaning away or into him. Clear your garment, get your draw, boom, dot, right? So let's talk about draw stroke, repetition, and practice. A lot of this can actually, in your presentation, be practiced at home with a dry gun. You don't actually need to fire rounds from it, because all you're doing is trying to create that muscle memory of standing still, moving the gun to your eye line, and then breaking that shot, which you can do during your dry fire practice at home. And it is highly recommended that you do partake in some of that, enjoy, get those good repetitions, not creating bad habits. So let's take a look at a couple shots basically coming out of the holster. You'll watch my body stance, make sure I'm not moving, stand straight, and we're gonna get some rounds on target. So we want to establish a good stance here, nothing too crazy. Focused on the target, gun comes out, up to our eye line, bam. Keeping my shoulders back, out, up. So guys, that's all it really is. As we work on our presentation, it's just repetition. Make sure you're building those good fundamentals, keeping your body upright, get that gun out, get it straight, get it in line, intersect your eye line, break that shot nice and clear, crisp. And guys, that's your Wilshire Training Tip for the week. Have a good day.